Welcome to Action Coaching. We're delighted that you join us on today. We certainly want to encourage you to share, and let others know that Action Coaching is on the air and they need to tune in each and every week because God always has something special for us in Action Coaching. I also want to encourage you that if you missed some episodes of Action Coaching, you can go to Word in Action on YouTube, social media, and you can kind of come up to date on some of the coaching sessions because certainly they will bless you. Now, the design of coaching is to take a person's vision or talent or gift and help them focus on the here and now. So many times people miss tremendous opportunities because they are more focused on the future or what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you don't take care of the here and now, you will never get to the future or the next thing that you are striving for. So coaching is designed to help a person focus on the here and now and develop their gifts, their talents, their skills that God have already placed in them and allow them to be as great as they want to be. Now on this week on Action Coaching, I want to talk to you about consequences. So many times people do not think about their actions. And the bottom line that we are living in this age of social media, and you can say something that might be offensive 10 or 12 years ago, and you may be running for an office 15 years later, and lo and behold, somebody bring up the same thing you said 10 and 15 years ago to hold it against you today. Now I understand 10 or 15 years ago, you were not thinking about the consequences of your action. But however, we're living in a time where we need to make people think about their actions before they do them. When I was growing up as a young boy, my father would always tell me that, you got to work more than one job. And I'm thinking about, I just want to get one job, and that's all I need. I'm not going to be like you, working 2 or 3 jobs all of the time, and I don't have any time to do anything. He said, no, the reason I work 2 or 3 jobs because I understand that what if one job cancels? Then I won't have a skill to do anything else. I didn't understand it at that time, but the more he talked to me and the more I grew, I was grateful for the fact that I did know how to do more than one thing. My father was thinking about the consequences. He was thinking about if a job ended, what else would I do? Or if I was not getting the income from one job, I had another job. Now, not that I'm saying everybody got to work multiple jobs. I'm just simply saying that as you build your life, you have to think about the consequences. Let me give you another example. I was talking to another young man about voting. And he said, well, my vote don't matter because they're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. But however, he did not understand the consequences of what he was saying. His one vote may be the difference from a public official that does not care nothing about his particular people or people of color. And as a result, him not voting is going to affect all of us and him personally. I'm simply saying, I'm not trying to tell him who to vote for. I'm just simply saying, understand the consequences of what you are saying and what you are doing. Now, how do we get the average person to think about the consequences of their action. I'm going to talk about a couple of points here and make sure that you remember these 2 points. They'll certainly help you in being successful and achieving the things that God has placed before you. Number 1, think about who your actions will affect. So many times it's all about, I want this, I want that. It's me, me, me. And I know we're living in the me, me, me society. And the me, me, me attitude of I want this and I want that does not help people think about who else it will affect. Even in situations that all of us have to deal with, you always have very selfish people who are not concerned about how it affects everyone else. I know whether it's the church, in your home, sometime in love relationships, before you do something and before you say something, you got to understand who all is it going to affect. Some of the actions that people take are not just about them, but you got to think a whole lot of other people are affected or would have to live a different way if you did not think about the consequences. I give you this example. When my sons were first going to school and they had this particular education class, this was before, I think they were going to middle school at that time. And however, the lady was in there and she was talking about something I had never thought about. But she talked about how if a student fails some classes or make low grades in classes. Now, I must admit, there's some classes that even when I was in high school, it was all right if I failed that one. It was all right if I got a C in that one. You know, I didn't particularly like it. And at that time, I didn't feel like it would affect my major. But then she began to talk about the consequences of having low grades early. Because when it's time for you to want to go to college, apply for jobs, and achieve other things, sometimes you have to work even harder to just pull up grades that you could have had in the right place anyway. And so she began to talk about the consequences of how it affects you, how it affects other people. You may come from a family like I did that could not afford to pay for you to go to college. But however, some people, as a result of good grades, they can go to college now, scholarships. They can go on all of the things. But so many times people are not thinking about how it affects others. They're only thinking about how it affects me. So whatever decision, whatever thing you think you want to do, or however you want to act with your attitude, just because you see it one way, I would encourage you, before you make a bigger mess, think about how it would affect other people. So many times I wanted to say things and I wanted to do things, and I felt very passionate about what I wanted to say and what I wanted to do. But I had to think about how it would affect other people. Meaning that I might can say it and get away with it because of who I am. But there might be another young boy, young girl that are not me, or not in the position I am, and they say it, and the consequences could be terrible. So you have to think about others. and not all of the time think about yourself. This is the reason we have to consider the consequences. Now we're living in an age where, of course, we know that there's a virus that we're all dealing with. Some people believe in the things that the CDC say that we should do: wearing the mask, social distancing, washing your hands, and all of the things that they tell you to do. And then there's some people out there that's not even considering the consequences. I'm not going to wear no mask. They can talk about, well, I don't even believe the disease is real. I get all of that. But you're entitled to your own opinion if that's the way you want to think. But the consequences of is are you thinking about the others around you in case it is real? And you got an older grandmother or grandfather and you've affected them, or you got kids and you got other people that are focused on this disease. The consequences can be terrible for them, and they could be affected because all you were concerned was about you. We're not in this world by ourselves. Everything affects somebody else. And when you do these things, you have to understand the consequences of them. And just like I said on my first point, you got to consider who it will affect. We often talk about how it's necessary for people to take care of themselves. Because imagine if you were not here, other people that are dependent on you, their lives would be altered. Now, that is not the only reason you want to stay here. I mean, everybody should want to live at all times. But what I'm saying is, when you understand the consequences, then you understand that my actions don't just affect me, but it affects everybody else. I don't want you to go anywhere. I'm going to come back and talk about my second point, because I'm excited about sharing this with you on today.
Hello, my name is Naja Ross, and welcome to an all-new Action Health update. I'm here to bring you the latest news on COVID-19 and how we can continue to flatten the curve. As of today, there are over 6.5 million confirmed cases in the United States of America, as well as almost 200,000 deaths. In Georgia, we are suffering from almost 300,000 cases and nearing 7,000 deaths. The CDC reported that just last week, Georgia reported over 10,000 cases in one single week. That's just 7 days. This shows us that we should be more vigilant and continue to practice measures that will protect our families and loved ones, including social distancing, wearing our masks, and washing our hands. These are some simple, basic steps that we can do to ensure that we maintain a healthy lifestyle, not only for ourselves, but for all of those that live in our household. Remember, this is not just about your health, but about your family, your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers, your peers. You must ensure that you do all you can to protect your health as well as theirs. Once again, thank you for joining me for an Action Health update. Please remember to stay safe and stay healthy.
I'm talking about consequences, and I left off talking about how if you think about what you're going to do and the effect that it has on everyone else around you or the situation, you would be so much better in life. Now, number two, thinking about the consequences prepare you for success. God told me that when He blessed me to start a ministry, and I didn't quite know all of the things that went into what I was seeing in my mind. You know how it is. Everybody get a dream. Everybody get a vision. Everybody want to have this and want to have that. but they don't take time to think about the consequences of achieving what you want to achieve. You know, it's kind of like the American dream. You know, it sounds good, but when you wake up from the dream, you find out that the American dream leaves a whole lot of people out. And if you're going to achieve anything, you got to consider the consequences, and you got to be ready to work very, very hard to achieve your goal. Now, when you understand that, it allows you to break through many barriers. So many people never sit down and say, if I want this, then I'm going to have to give up this, or I'm going to have to change my life this way, or there are certain people I can't hang out with. There are certain friends that won't let me get where I'm going. Not that you hate them, but you sizing up the consequences of what you want. And like I was saying, when I got the dream and the vision of the ministry, I just thought, well, maybe if I go down there and get a building and have this building and put the sign up, since people would see the sign and I got a building, they would come to the church. But I found out that I hadn't considered all of the consequences of my action. There was work to do. I had to get out and tell people about what God had instructed me to do, to encourage them to come to Jesus, encourage them that God had given me a real message for their life. But as a result of that, all of a sudden I found myself not having time to hang out with the friends I used to. And they're telling me, you don't ever have any time to do anything. It wasn't that. I had a decision to make. Whether I'm going to spend time with them or where I'm going to focus on the plan that God has shown me. There's so many people right now who want to do something and they continue to fail. You know, they start up, they fall down. They want to do this today and they want to do something else tomorrow. Or tomorrow, that they wanted to do yesterday or tomorrow or the next day, they don't know what they want to do. But the bottom line is they have not sat down and considered the consequences. You can be what you want to be if you understand the price you have to pay to be that. You can be as smart as you want to be, but that means you got to study. You got to pay attention. You got to consider the consequences. You got to ask yourself the hard question. If you want to lose weight, or if you want to be in better shape, if you want to have better health, isn't it amazing that all of these things we all want, but we have to give up certain things. So we have to consider the consequences. I can't have this and continue to do that. I've got to consider what's important first, and the results of my action will show me that I considered the right thing. I certainly want to challenge people everywhere. Consider the consequences before you leap. Don't let it be a fantasy or a fad or something somebody said sound good. Before you move into it, sit down and consider the consequences. And what am I saying? The consequences are the result of your action. But I can assure you that anybody that put forth the right action, you are going to get the desired results. But you just have to consider the consequences. I like to say it this way. When you consider what it takes for you to get where you want, you then understand that you can't take everybody with you because everybody don't want to do the same thing. But the great joy out of it is if you consider the consequences and the results, then there are a whole lot of people that will benefit from you being dedicated and focused because you understood what it takes. Here on Action Coaching, my job, our job, because I got great people behind me. Obviously, I don't just come to you by myself, but it takes others to make this go. I have to consider how important they are and how powerful they are. And they have to consider the consequences of helping me carry out the vision. They have to understand that if they help me, then ultimately they will benefit. But also they have to understand the consequences of what they are doing. They may not have time. That might not be their dream. We understand that. People have a better relationship when people consider the consequences of their action. Sometimes you can't be friends with somebody because they want more time than you got. And it's not that you're being hard to get along with, but you just simply decided on the consequences and the things that you are after command that you drive every single day. I thank God that I have learned to consider the consequences of my action. I've taught my sons, hopefully, and I've done a good job, to understand where they are, what place they're in, what are the consequences of their action. So many times we've seen in the media and in other places, people might have did the right thing, but did it in the wrong place because they were not considering the consequences of their action. I close with this. 2020 will always be known as a time that shaped America. But however, it wasn't like 2020 may have caught us by surprise, since we didn't consider the consequences of our actions years ago. Now, we can't do nothing about the past, but we can certainly consider the consequences of not adjusting for the future. And I want you to do that right now. Can't make up for the past. Just have to leave that behind us. I often say the only thing you can do with the past is leave it in the past. But right here and right now, you can consider the consequences and start changing your actions right now. Not tomorrow, right now. And your future will be bright, and God will cause you to laugh at His blessings in your life because you discovered your potential. Well, I don't want you to go anywhere. I'm just getting excited, but I'll be right back to talk to you.
Welcome to another edition of Action Literacy. This morning, we're going to be talking about something that, as many of you know, is about to be very important and relevant in all of our lives. We're going to be talking about voting. Although in 1870, the 15th Amendment was ratified, giving all African American men the opportunity to vote, African American and other minority people have been continued to have their right to vote suppressed in this country for its entire existence. Following the passing of the 15th Amendment, it made it no easy for African Americans to be able to vote. Throughout the South, many states created measures that made it impossible for newly freed slaves and African Americans to ever have their right to vote. In today's time, although we are not facing such drastic measures, voter suppression in this country is still alive and well. For instance, clearly evident in our recent governor election between Governor Kemp and former Representative Stacey Abrams. All in all, it is to remind you that your ancestors, those that came before you and made a way for you to live the life that you live today, fought and died for you to have the right to be able to go and cast your ballot freely and without obstruction. This election, on this November as it rolls around, we here at Word in Action want to make sure that you know to go vote. Your vote matters. Your vote counts. Despite what anybody can say, it is up to you and it is your obligation to go out and cast your vote. Give your opinion for whichever candidate you feel best represents your interests. Whether you're sending in your absentee ballot or getting to the polls on election day and casting your ballot in person, it is your obligation to make sure your voice is heard and to make sure that the person that has our country's best interest is leading us in the highest office. On our link tree, you will be able to find multiple resources to help you during this voting season. Things like an up-to-date election calendar, your poll location, general voter resources and knowledge, along with actual information about candidates. We here at Word in Action just want to continue to inform you and continue to push you to cast your ballot. Your voice is important and our voice is important. And it is up to us to make sure we do our part to hold our leaders accountable. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Today with Action Coaching. I want to take this opportunity to challenge you to sit down and sow a generous seed faith offering of support for Action Coaching so that we can continue to buy better equipment, continue to expand Action Coaching, continue to do bigger and better things that will not only minister to you, but through Action Coaching, allow you to be more effective in your own area. So I want to encourage you to sit down and sow a generous seed faith offering on today. We need your financial support. I'm not asking just to be asking. I understand in life, whatever blesses you, surely you should not mind giving back to it, because the blessings that you get from it, you continue to experience it for days and weeks and years to come. So I want you to support us at Action Coaching. There's a link in my bio that'll give you multitude of ways to sow to Action Coaching. And I want you to know I'll be praying over every seed that the Lord continue to richly bless you as a result of the seed you've sown. Thank you for your support. Thank you for joining me. Continue to urge others to be a part of Action Coaching, and God has great things in store for us. As I do each and every week, I want to encourage you to share the word with a friend and keep the word in action.